Welcome, everyone. It's Wendy Trevathan here. I'm your podcast host for Your Nurse Voice Matters, and I have Kylie Long here with me this afternoon. How are you, Kylie?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me along, Wendy.
Welcome. You're welcome. So I know Kylie. I know a little bit about Kylie, but our audience doesn't. So let me introduce her to you all. So Kylie began her career as a registered nurse more than 30 years ago, with extensive experience in cardiac and emergency nursing. Working on the front line shaped her deep understanding of how leadership, teamwork, and systems influence outcomes, not only for patients, but for the clinicians caring for them. 8 years into nursing, Kylie expanded her impact by completing a postgraduate studies in workplace health and safety and transitioning into the workplace health and safety field. She has worked across healthcare, mining, construction, rail, manufacturing, and government, bringing clinical insight into complex risk environments. Importantly, Kylie has always maintained her nursing registration to stay connected to clinical practice and contemporary healthcare realities, ensuring her safety and psychosocial risk work is grounded in lived experience. Today, as the founder and support and safety solutions, Kylie helps organisations build practical people-centred systems that create healthier workplaces under pressure. Don't we need that in today's workplace? That's me. A fabulous summary of your career. So really excited to talk today about your journey and also its impact on nursing today and what you're doing. So my first question to you, and I've been asking all those with extensive experience, is where did becoming a nurse come from for you? Decided, yes, that's what I want to do with my life.
It wasn't actually my first choice when I left school. It was actually a teaching degree. And back then, believe it or not, over more than 30 years ago, teachers actually couldn't get much work. And I was studying at Australian Catholic University, and at the time had submitted an application to there. And I actually got accepted into the nursing field because there wasn't much work for teachers.
So Kylie, going from your graduate training, what prompted your development into like cardiac and emergency nursing?
So what drew me into cardiac nursing was because it was proactive. So people generally get better when they go in for any sort of, back then it was the typical name open heart surgery. So they typically went in unwell, needing surgical intervention, but they got better during their stay when they were in there and they got to go home. So that really shaped my focus around prevention and systems. And originally, I never wanted to work in emergency. There was many times when I would be particularly casual nursing. They would ask me, will you go anywhere to the wards and stuff like? Oh, yes, I'll go anywhere except for emergency. And then I remember working with one of the casual pool nurses, and he goes, "Oh, it's just doing OBS." And I thought, "Oh, well, I can just do OBS." And no, it's not just doing OBS. But so for someone who came from quite, like I've done a bit of cardiac ICU, moving into that ED sort of space is quite chaotic. It's not very controlled. I think it just allowed me to be a bit more relaxed in an environment where I didn't have control over everything, and I just had to learn to pivot and manage my time well and work together as a team. So yeah, it was a completely different shift from working in structured cardiac ICU environments.
This very controlled environment in the wards versus into
Mm.
emergency. And that old adage, oh yeah, you're just going down there to do some OBS. Yeah, right. We've all heard that line before. All right. So I'm curious to know, like from your emergency and the casual shifts that you did, what prompted you into your nursing career to explore this whole world of workplace health and safety?
Okay, so I got to the end of my 8th year of full-time nursing after I'd graduated from university, and I thought I either go to a level 2 position and pursue a career path in nursing, or let's have a look outside of nursing. And to be honest, I was a bit over shift work, because as when you work on a roster system, you pretty much have to be available 24/7 for the shifts, 7 days a week, and you can only have so many roster requests to make it fair and equitable amongst the team. So I started to look into what other areas were proactive and sort of prevention and systems based, because that's what I like to focus on. And at the time, I think there was someone that I knew through a friend that was also working in the workplace health and safety field. And I thought, I think that's going to be another area like similar to nursing that you're never going to be without a job.
Definitely. One of the things that I teach in my transition programs, if you're aspiring to do anything, is to go and talk to somebody in the job that you're aspiring to do, because then you'll get all of the inside outs, upside down, all that sort of thing. And it's a really good, they could potentially be a really good mentor. So, so the training for workplace health and safety, was it a broad course, or were you really able to hone it in on your experience in healthcare? Because it's quite a broad field, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So people even often ask me now still, almost, is it nursing related? And it's definitely not. So I did a postgraduate course part-time while I was still nursing at the time. And to get experience, I went and became in our unit, the workplace health and safety rep, to get that sort of hands-on experience, similar to what you do if you're nursing and you want to go and work as a personal carer or as an AIN or a unison in the system. I went and volunteered to be the rep when I was working at the hospital. And I studied part-time for the degree. And there's definitely, I think I maybe had one subject where I could get previous recognition of prior learning, but other than that, there was definitely, you couldn't hone anything. You got to choose some things that you liked, like occupational hygiene or ergonomics. There was a little bit of overlap with nursing, but as a whole, no, it was a completely new field of study for me.
So you really entered into a second vocation. Like, this is really launching into a whole new area for you. And you've worked across a number of different sites. But out of all that experience, what was a highlight for you? It's about what was a highlight experience, or something, instrumental that you've done, or a project that you worked on that really you're very proud of.
So I worked in the construction area if you're familiar with Brisbane, the Airport Link project. So there used to be a horrible roundabout in Brisbane with traffic lights on it going on the way to the airport. If you've been in Brisbane long enough, if you're from any other state, you are not familiar with it. So I was the safety coordinator on that project and managed a small team of people there, and worked with, project managers, engineers, construction, frontline workers. So whenever I fly over that, I say I always feel proud that I have a horrible fear of heights, and I really had to overcome that because I had to walk a lot of scaffolding stairs as part of that process to overcome those fears.
And one of the things that we were talking about the other week when we were finding out more about you was there was a really strong desire there, and you've mentioned that in their bio, that you always wanted to stay connected with nursing despite this shift in the career. So for a lot of us, obviously, we need to be registered and maintain our practice through AHPRA. So how have you done that? Like, how, for those that are listening that are perhaps thinking about stepping outside of nursing to another career, what sort of strategies have you used to maintain your clinical competence, to maintain your registration?
Yeah, so originally when I finished my postgraduate degree in workplace health and safety, I actually didn't do any nursing for about 4.5 years, and I wasn't planning on renewing my registration. I thought, oh, I'm just not going to go back into this. I've got plenty of work in safety, and I almost walked away from it completely after, would have been 10 years by then. But a pivotal moment came for me when I was working with a construction manager who sat me down as sort of part of the performance review, and we talked about nursing and things like that. And he said, don't give it up. You've worked too hard towards this, and you don't know if you'll ever need it again. And you'll also, and talking amongst colleagues, you'll also go and drop your pay scale down again to a lower. Back then, it was like a lower pay point than a graduate nurse, and I thought, oh wow. And he actually paid me like a day. They paid me a day of work, and I would go away and do a nursing shift whenever I needed to maintain my currency. So really, that advice changed everything for me. I realized that I was actually expanding who I was in my clinical practice, not abandoning nursing altogether. So how to maintain it while I was actually having another career was I'd often volunteer for shifts like Saturday afternoon. So I still had a Sunday off. And then when the 12-hour shifts came in, I would do part of a 4-hour shift. And also for me, it's about maintaining my mandatory competency. So I'd actually still go out of my way to maintain my ALS, even though it's not required as a casual employee. All those sort of, I did my cannulation recertification, all those kind of things, just to make sure that my clinical skills were still, I guess up to scratch. And I felt confident and competent as well.
Definitely. One of the things that when I took on, so I worked part-time as an author strategist, when I took on that role 4 years ago, I thought, oh, it won't renew my APRA registration, but I actually switched it from, a lot of people don't know that you can do this. You can switch it from a from a clinical to a non-clinical status, which means the requirements are not quite the same. You still pay registration, but because I'm doing the nursing coaching, I made that switch. So that's really like my message about all that is to be really do your due diligence on what the possibilities are before you actually make big rash decisions, which sounds like what you did. And whoever your boss is, my goodness, kudos to them for supporting you in doing that. He could obviously see, that you had worked so hard for that to not let it go. Okay, so let's move on to your foundation work, what you've actually done now and what you're doing. Can you give us a little summary of expertise now? We'd really love to hear that. That would be wonderful.
So at the moment, I'm still working casually as a registered nurse for a couple of different areas that I work across. So for me, I just like still being involved as part of a team and the team dynamics. But I also find that a lot of the things that I'm doing when I'm doing my casual nursing shifts, I can actually transition into the business that I'm working, particularly things around like work design, workplace culture, communication, all those sort of big ticket items that are in, I guess, the forefront of businesses' minds over the last couple of years around that sort of psychosocial risk space. And really simplifying systems and processes for business as well to reduce their risk within the business. So that's my focus. And I guess nursing is a sort of similar process. And I often tell businesses when I'm working with them, they often say what sets you apart from someone else is nurses have a holistic view of things. And I've often had this discussion with medical officers that I've worked within the team that I work with at the moment. And they always talk about how nurses look at the big picture and they understand the social side, the emotional side. They get all that information, that collateral from their patients when they're just having that general discussion on a daily basis, or if they're admitting someone through ED. And sometimes the medical field is just focusing on one particular aspect of it. Whereas, I think the holistic perspective of being a nurse actually has shaped me personally, but also in terms of my safety career as well.
Nice. And are you open to people approaching you information or having a discussion with you to come into their organisations from a workplace health and safety? If you could kind of say, here what you would be open to engaging with people with, how you can help them.
Yeah, so people can find me through you just need to do a Google search basically of finding me. I'm on LinkedIn. Yes, I'm definitely open towards businesses that want to simplify their systems and processes and look from an assurance perspective that they're doing the right thing by their people to reduce their risk.
So are you talking bricks and mortar businesses, or are you talking service orientated businesses? Give us an idea of, what sort of businesses you'd be able to help.
So particularly service type businesses that have frontline workers, because obviously that's the background that I come from, is that frontline services type industry, working with people, understanding the complexities of the work that people do, the systems and processes. It's okay to have these things, policies and procedures in place, but if they're not reflecting the work that people are actually doing, they're not actually being used, and they're just like a piece of a folder or a document inside on a computer that people aren't actually referring to, and that's not going to keep your people safe and reduce the risk.
Keep the managers safe because they've got everything written down, but the actual work to follow the actions. It's putting in action.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Checklists and systems. We need to live them as well as write them and do them. Yeah. All right. So for our nursing listeners out there, think about our listeners. We may have someone that's just a new graduate nurse. We may have a nurse out there that's listening that's maybe 10 years in and they're looking for something else, or you might have someone like me who's a dinosaur nurse. What is your golden nugget of advice to give to our audience?
The main thing is never give up on your nursing. So keep maintaining some form of currency with it. There's opportunities in different areas to work shorter shifts and work weekend shifts if you need to give if you need that sort of flexibility. You don't have to choose one path forever. You don't have to even in nursing, you don't have to keep on one path forever, and all your skills are transferable, particularly with your registration. And keeping your foundation actually creates that freedom to explore other areas that you might be actually interested in.
This is a really sought after in a number of industries because we're so good at our soft skills, communication, making people feel comfortable, customer service, that sort of thing. And you were talking about, the flexibility in work hours. I was talking to somebody a few days ago about she didn't realise that when she was on a grad program that she could negotiate her hours if her personal circumstances changed. And I went, and this happened a while ago. She missed out on the opportunity to continue. And I went, that's just so, it's really not supporting nurses with where they are at the moment. And I kind of feel a bit inflexible to try and keep nurses in nursing. If you want to keep nurses in nursing, be more flexible around, the 0.7 or the 0.8, or if they want to drop to 0.4, or what I mean, like it's really to support nurses. So with our podcast today, you mentioned that you're available to search, people will find you. Is there any one platform that you would like to direct our listeners to over one over another? Are you more visible on one platform over another?
So it's probably LinkedIn. That's where the majority of the engagement happens with people. But I know a lot of nurses don't actually use LinkedIn much, but it's definitely a platform that you can use to expand your network and connect with other people. There's actually a number of nurses there who stepped out into like running their own side hustle, those kind of things, from their nursing background. It's a great professional platform to connect with other people.
Yeah. And just under your name, Kylie Long, and they'll be able to find
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other identifiers, like do we need to put in a search that you're in Brisbane? Or?
It'll be support and safety solutions. So if they Kylie Long safety or support, that will definitely bring me up there.
Excellent. All right. We might when I do the summary for the podcast, I'll put your LinkedIn link.
Sure.
So people can click on that for you. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Any last words of wisdom or anything you'd like to impart? Now's your opportunity to kind of get yourself out there to the world that are listening.
I did have another. So I did have a closing message that I wanted to talk about. So I talked about I didn't leave nursing because I'm still nursing. I expanded it from it. So every pivot adds another layer of direction. So in my journey, I have over the last 10 years twice been made redundant, and I've been able to financially, I guess emotionally, just jump straight back into that nursing. So having that registration there and keeping that, maintaining that competency, gave me that security, that perspective, and that freedom to do that. And sometimes the thing you think you're moving away from actually becomes the very thing that actually supports you through your journey.
Yeah, it has a way of unraveling, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I made the switch 4 years ago. I went, no, I just kind of like, yes, I just want to ignore that part of me for, and I did for 6 to 12 months, but then it slowly has come creeping back in, and I realised how connected I am. It's all to do with identity, isn't it? Your identity as a nurse, and the profession that it is. It's just not. It doesn't stop at the hospital door, does it? When you leave a shift, it's the general community that you're supporting and expanding. And I just love what you're doing, looking at the welfare of other organisations and businesses. I just think that's fabulous. Yeah. Okay, Kylie, lovely having you on today and talking about your experience and where you're moving into. It's very exciting. We'd love to have you back on in, like another 12, 18 months and just see, how you've developed from today through to that time. We'd love to hear that as an updated summary and your insights. We would appreciate that.
Thanks so much, Wendy.
Welcome. Okay, everyone, you've been listening to Your Nurse Risk Matters. My name's Wendy Tremarca, and I look forward to seeing you on my next episode. Bye for now, everyone.